When you're looking for answers, he'll ask the right questions. Elias Makos, CJAD 800.
Oh, let's get you in a good mood as we start off the second hour of the Elias Makos Show. A little Macklemore coming in from the control room. I like it. Okay, first things first, I've asked Trudy Mason to stick around just for a second. Now, Trudy, May the 4th, right? Did you hear the Big Five? I did a little shout out to Star Wars fans, right? It was a shout out to the Star Wars fans, but, I sort of mentioned Star Trek at the same time, right? Because, we don't have a day. There's no specific day for Star Wars fans. I said, Star Trek is way better, but Star Wars fans deserve a day, right? You heard that. Luke in Saint Jerome sent me a text message. And Luke said, Elias, I understand your inferiority complex with regards to Star Wars. It has reached an iconic social coolness that Star Trek could never attain. And then he went on. I read it before. I just can't go on. Like, Luke took issue with, my little knock there at Star Wars, right? So now I got to throw this out here. And I knew you'd be interested to note this because none other than NDG's own William Shatner has come in just a half an hour ago on this very subject, on this very issue, because he tweeted out, May the 4th be with you. Somebody said, hey, William Shatner, why does Star Wars get its own day when Star Trek doesn't? And here's what William Shatner said. Star Trek is celebrated 364 days of the year. Give them their day. Well said by Bill Shatner, NDG Zone. So May the 4th be with you, Trudy. And whatever Star Trek people do. Oh, no. Live long and prosper. Yes, that's right. Exactly. Peace of, or death to the opposition. No, I don't do the wharf line. Okay, thanks, Trudy. Appreciate that. We have news to get to here. We have serious business to get to. It's our real pleasure to welcome back onto the program Aaron Derfel, health reporter with the Montreal Gazette. This week in the Gazette, taking a look at the state of Quebec's ERs and how they are affecting the elderly. It seems like the elderly are suffering the most in Quebec ERs. Aaron, welcome back to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Elias.
So, listen, why do you think this crisis in the ERs has remained here unspoken, as you say? Why don't we talk about what elderly people are facing in ERs?
I think it's to put it bluntly, it's ageism. And we take our elders for granted, and it's something that we think, it's always been this way. So what's so new about it? What's new about it is that yes, ER overcrowding has been a perennial problem in Quebec, but what's new this time is that you've got a big shortage of staff, and the patients are older and they're sicker, and it's the elderly who are bearing the brunt of all of this.
And by bearing the brunt, what is that? What do you mean? What do they face?
Okay, yeah. So that's actually an important point because people look at just the ER occupancy numbers and they think, okay, it's 200%. Well, what does that mean in the ER? It means that an elderly person might be, someone in their 80s. Perhaps they have had a leg fracture. They should be transferred within a few hours to an internal medicine ward. On that internal medicine ward, you would have a physiotherapist helping them. They would be given something that's called an inspirometer to help them breathe so that they don't develop pneumonia. They would be turned over because, that's what the role is of the internal medicine staff. Instead, they're staying on a stretcher in the ER, sometimes without a pillow. And these stretchers are very hard. They're staying on the stretcher sometimes for days, 5, sometimes 6 days, and they're not properly fed. They're not turned over, so they can develop, these painful pressure 1 or pressure 2 bed sores in as little as 4 hours. And if their legs are not lifted, they can develop a blood clot. And why is this happening to them? Because the ER staff are overwhelmed. They're running from one patient to the next, and their mission is to stabilize. They're not doing what should be done on the other floors like cardiology or internal medicine. So what happens is that the risk of complications goes up. first of all, they're suffering during that time, and then the risk of medical complications goes up, and they can develop, these blood clots or pneumonia, and sometimes it can be fatal. So this is why I want to draw attention to this, and the fact that sometimes they're not treated with the dignity that they deserve. I spoke to an ER nurse who said on this one shift he was escorting an elderly person to the bathroom, but he was told by another staffer, "Why do that? Why do that? Just slap a diaper on this patient." Ugh. Some of these patients are in physical restraints; they don't necessarily need to be. So this is really why I wanted to sound the alarm, as I had done 3 years earlier about the mass deaths at the Heron nursing home.
Aaron, is the issue system-wide, or does it vary by hospital? Like, are there some hospitals that, regardless of all the issues and the pressures facing our system, do better in this regard?
Yes. So I would say that the Jewish General is able to move its patients through the hospital more quickly, and they're hit with what I would call a tsunami of patients every day in their ER. They have an ER occupancy rate of 200, sometimes more. Like yesterday it was 225%. But you've got to sort of drill down into the figures to see what's happening. But their average ER stay on a stretcher is like 15 hours. That's still not great, but at the Lakeshore, for example, it's 57 hours.
Wow!
So there is this difference from hospital to hospital, definitely, and even from region to region, because Montreal is harder hit than some of the outlying regions.
We're with Aaron Derfel, health reporter with the Montreal Gazette. We're talking about the crisis in Quebec ERs, particularly for elderly patients. Now, Aaron, a lot of talk here about Christian Dubé's proposed healthcare reforms, right? Do any of the proposed reforms, could they be viewed as something that would help this issue? Is there any part of the reforms that would target the woes in Quebec ERs?
No. The Bill 15, I don't think addresses any of that. But there's an initiative that the CAQ government launched before this proposed reform by Christian Dubé, and that might help these smaller residences for more mobile older adults called les maisons des aînés. That would help, but that's really being delayed. And then there's something that the government launched on Monday, which is billing as a home hospitalization program. The idea here is, for example, at the CLC Verdun, you've got more home visits by doctors. So the doctors visit the elderly at home. They treat them at home, and they're able to see what's happening to reduce hospitalizations. That would be that's something that should be implemented across the province and would help. But it's going to take a long time because we have such a shortage of staff, from doctors to nurses and every type of personnel.
Aaron, unfortunately, I have experience with the ERs in the last little while. My father passed away just about a month ago, and he went into the ER at the Montreal General, and I got to say, he got excellent care in the ER section, and then when he eventually was moved to a room here. And I guess, for our listeners, I sort of want to end this interview with talking about, because I know there are listeners that are going to end up, they're seniors, and they're going to end up in a Quebec hospital. Is there any silver lining here? Is there anything that we take about maybe some positive things that are happening in Quebec ERs when it comes to the care that seniors are getting?
Well, my condolences on the passing of your father. To answer that question, I would rather, rephrase it a little bit in the sense that I think that if your grandmother or grandfather or your elderly father or mother have to go to the ER, go with them. Be their advocate. That can make the difference to ensure that they get the care if they're being neglected. You can point that out to the staff. What I worry about most is those elderly who do not have advocates to help them. That's something to consider going forward.
Aaron, we'll leave it there. Your reporting in the Gazette, so valuable, worth the prices of a subscription alone. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
That's the Montreal Gazette's health reporter, Aaron Derfel.